It's an ordinary Monday morning. You're sitting at the kitchen table, coffee in hand. The mug is still warm. The TV murmurs in the background. Morning light cuts through the blinds. Nothing is wrong, except you haven't slept in 264 hours. Your eyes are open. You're upright. You even managed to pour that coffee without spilling it. But the boundary between what is real and what your brain is quietly manufacturing, that line dissolved 2 days ago. You just haven't fully noticed yet. What would happen to your body and your brain if you stayed awake for 11 consecutive days? This is speculative and educational. Everything here is grounded in documented research, clinical case studies, and the established physiology of human sleep. It is not a challenge. It is not a stunt. It is an examination of what extreme sleep deprivation does to an organism that was built, at its most fundamental level, to go unconscious every single night. The most famous documented case of voluntary sleep deprivation in history lasted exactly this long, 11 days and 25 minutes. In 1964, a 17-year-old named Randy Gardner did it under scientific supervision. His case was recorded by sleep researcher Dr. William Dement of Stanford University. We'll come back to Randy. First, understand what sleep actually is, because it is not a pause. It is not your body doing nothing. Sleep is the most metabolically active maintenance state your body enters. Every night, your brain cycles through 4 to 5 90-minute sleep stages. During NREM stage 3, deep slow-wave sleep, your glymphatic system activates. This is a network of channels surrounding your brain's blood vessels that expands during sleep and flushes out metabolic waste products, beta amyloid, tau proteins, cellular debris that accumulates during waking cognition. Think of it as a dishwasher that only runs at night. Skip the cycle, and the plates stay dirty. Simultaneously, your hippocampus transfers short-term memories into long-term cortical storage. Your immune system releases cytokines. Your pituitary gland pulses growth hormone. Your cortisol levels drop to their daily minimum, allowing systemic cellular repair. Your adenosine levels, a neurochemical that builds up as a byproduct of neural activity throughout the day, are cleared. Adenosine is what makes you feel tired. Caffeine works by blocking adenosine receptors, not by eliminating the molecule. The debt accumulates regardless. When you are well rested, your prefrontal cortex, the region governing judgment, impulse control, and emotional regulation, is fully online. Your amygdala, the brain's threat detection center, is modulated and calibrated. You are, neurologically, a functional human being. That is your baseline. Now take it away. After 24 hours without sleep, your cognitive performance is equivalent to a blood alcohol concentration of 0. 10%, legally drunk in every jurisdiction in the world. Your reaction time has slowed by 50%. Your working memory is degrading. You feel it, but you are also the last person capable of accurately measuring it. Sleep deprivation impairs metacognition, your ability to assess your own impairment. You feel more capable than you are. This is not incidental. It is one of the most dangerous features of the condition. Your body has begun compensating. Cortisol and norepinephrine levels have elevated, a physiological stress response designed to keep you alert in emergencies. Your heart rate increases slightly. Your body temperature regulation starts to drift. These are the same hormones released during acute danger. Your body does not distinguish between being chased and not sleeping. It simply activates the emergency systems. By hour 36, your amygdala activity has increased by up to 60%. According to a 2007 study published in Current Biology by Matthew Walker's lab at UC Berkeley. The prefrontal cortex's inhibitory connection to the amygdala has weakened. You are becoming emotionally reactive, irritable, impulsive, disproportionately sensitive to mild stressors. Small frustrations feel large. Large frustrations feel unbearable. Your immune system has started pulling resources. Natural killer cell activity, your first-line defense against pathogens and abnormal cells, has dropped by nearly 30%. But you are still compensating. The adenosine pressure is extreme, but the cortisol and norepinephrine are partially masking it. You are running on emergency fuel. It is not sustainable, but it works. For now. Hours 48 to 192. Days 2 through 8. Here is where the systems start to fail in sequence. By day 3, you are experiencing microsleeps. These are involuntary sleep episodes lasting between 1 and 30 seconds. Your eyes may remain open. You may continue a sentence. You will have no memory of the gap. Your brain is forcing brief shutdowns whether you authorize them or not. You have lost volitional control over your own consciousness. Your thermoregulation is now significantly impaired. You feel cold when you shouldn't. You may feel burning sensations in your skin, not from heat, but from misfiring nociceptors. Your pain threshold has dropped. Everything hurts slightly more than it should. By day 4, the neurological symptoms escalate to something that has no analog in ordinary experience. You begin experiencing hypnagogic hallucinations while fully awake. These are not metaphors. Your visual cortex, starved of the REM processing it uses to consolidate and regulate sensory input, begins generating its own. You see things in your peripheral vision that aren't there. Shadows move. Patterns breathe. Randy Gardner, on day 4, became convinced a street sign was a person. He argued with it. Your speech has slowed. Word retrieval, the process by which your temporal lobe accesses semantic memory, is now measurably impaired. You pause mid-sentence. You substitute the wrong word and don't notice. Your short-term memory retention has collapsed. You can be told something and have no recollection of it 4 minutes later. Here is the counterintuitive fact. The greatest danger at this stage is not exhaustion, it is sodium. Sleep deprivation disrupts antidiuretic hormone regulation and alters renal sodium handling. Your kidneys begin excreting sodium at abnormal rates. Combined with any fluid intake, this creates a risk of hyponatremia, dangerously low blood sodium. Hyponatremia causes cerebral edema. The brain swells inside the skull. This is not a complication of exhaustion. It is an independent electrolyte crisis triggered by the same hormonal dysregulation that is dismantling everything else. By day 6, your cortisol has been chronically elevated for nearly a week. Your hippocampal neurons, cells critical to memory formation and spatial navigation, are showing signs of glucocorticoid toxicity. High sustained cortisol is neurotoxic. The very stress hormone keeping you awake is quietly damaging the structure it relies on. Your immune system is now operating at approximately 50% of normal function. Your inflammatory markers, IL-6, TNF-alpha, C-reactive protein, are significantly elevated. Your body is treating sleep deprivation as a wound it cannot locate. By day 8, the psychosis is no longer episodic. It is continuous. Hours 192 to 264. Days 8 through 11. What you are experiencing now has a clinical name: sleep deprivation psychosis. It is physiologically indistinguishable from acute paranoid schizophrenia on a functional brain scan. Your prefrontal cortex has essentially gone offline. The default mode network, the system responsible for self-referential thought, the sense that there is a you having experiences, is fragmenting. You may dissociate from your own body. You may become convinced of things that are internally consistent and entirely false. Paranoia is common. The logic feels airtight. The evidence feels overwhelming. You are building a coherent narrative from noise. Meanwhile, your brainstem, ancient, involuntary, beneath the reach of psychology, is running its own calculations. It is managing your heart rate, your breathing, your vasomotor tone. But the communication between higher cortical regions and the brainstem's regulatory centers is degrading. Blood pressure is dysregulated. Heart rate variability, a marker of autonomic nervous system health, has collapsed. Your cerebral glucose metabolism has dropped by up to 14% in the prefrontal and parietal regions. As documented in PET scan studies of sleep-deprived subjects, your neurons are not getting adequate fuel. Synaptic vesicle recycling, the process by which neurons reload neurotransmitters after firing, is impaired. Your brain is running out of the chemical infrastructure it needs to think. In animal studies, total sleep deprivation is uniformly fatal. Rats die within 2 to 3 weeks, consistently, from multi-organ failure, sepsis from gut bacteria translocation, and thermoregulatory collapse. The mechanism in humans is assumed to be similar, though no human has died under controlled conditions. What happens at the outer edge remains, technically, unknown. At 264 hours, this is where you are, not dead. But the boundary between sleep and waking has become biological rather than behavioral. Your brain will take what it needs. You no longer have a choice in the matter. Randy Gardner was taken to a naval hospital after his record and slept for 14 hours and 40 minutes. He woke up largely recovered. No permanent cognitive damage was documented. He went to school the following week. But the science on long-term outcomes is more complicated. Studies of chronic partial sleep deprivation, not 11 days, but years of 6 hours a night, show measurable structural changes in the white matter of the frontal lobe, reduced hippocampal volume, and persistent elevation of beta-amyloid burden. The glymphatic system, when denied its nightly cycles over years, does not simply catch up. The debt compounds. One documented exception exists that reframes everything: fatal familial insomnia, a prion disease that progressively destroys the thalamus, the brain's sleep-regulating relay station, causing total inability to sleep. Patients die within 7 to 36 months. Not from organ failure first, from the neurological unraveling that follows the permanent absence of sleep. The thalamus, it turns out, is not optional. For Randy and the handful of other documented extreme cases, recovery was real but incomplete in subtle ways. Sleep architecture, the ratio of REM to slow-wave sleep, the timing of sleep stage transitions, remained altered for months. The brain did not simply reset to factory settings. It recalibrated around the experience. The glymphatic waste accumulated over 11 days was cleared, eventually. The inflammatory markers normalized. The cortisol returned to diurnal rhythm. The hallucinations stopped the moment sleep began. What did not change immediately? The emotional reactivity, the reduced tolerance for ambiguity, the slightly flattened affect that researchers noticed in post-deprivation interviews and that subjects themselves often couldn't perceive. The brain had been through something, and brains, unlike bones, do not always leave clean X-rays of where they've been. Your body ran 264 hours on emergency systems, cortisol, microsleeps it stole without permission, and a nervous system that kept recalibrating the definition of functional downward in real time, just to keep you alive. It is not a fragile system. It is an extraordinary one. It just wasn't built to run without the dark.